Hi, folks, and welcome to the third episode of the series MOVEMBER Talks. There was some silence. It was longer than I would have expected, but it's no problem. We are back. That's what it means. We are back with a lot of strength, energy, good guests like the gentleman I have today. I have a couple of others in the pipeline for Sunday and next week. So stay around because November is not over yet. My mustache is growing. It's now day 20, and my enthusiasm is still here. Also, guys, don't forget to check that beat downstairs. Don't dismiss your mental health. Look after yourself. That's the most important task you have. So never ever set it aside. You need that more than anything else. I would also ask you, if you haven't, to subscribe to my YouTube channel. As you all know, I'm sure you are all familiar with the dynamics of social media. Every subscription counts. If you enjoy the content, please give me a thumbs up. Encourage others to listen to us, to pay attention to the things we are saying. Just spend 5-10 minutes to see if it's something that relates to you. And if that's the case, um, keep an eye on the stuff I'm delivering you, usually on a weekly basis. So today I have a guest who is very keen on the topic of male health. He is joining us from Texas. His name is Clifton Pope. He is a podcaster like myself and an author, and he is huge into this topic. So I think his insights will be of benefit uh, for you, and I want to bring you to the stage. How are you, Clifton?
I am doing fantastic, Victor. I just want to thank you for allowing me to be on your platform and just be able to tell my story across the pond, as they say. And yeah, I'm ready to get into anything you want to talk about today. I'm grateful to be a part of your audience today.
Excellent. So if you can tell us what have you done in this space from a personal perspective, and also how you used your own experience to help others.
What I personally do at the moment, and it's an interesting question that you ask. What I do is I'm a holistic fitness trainer, and it's funny how I kind of got into this overall space that I'm in. I kind of give credit to just, my mom and my dad, most importantly, raising me and kind of learning from their backgrounds and their perspectives. With my mom being a nurse, her always taking care of me, making sure that I was the healthiest individual that I can possibly be. And at the same time, being active in sports, growing up as a child, thanks to my dad being a coach and a teacher all at the same time. And all of those things, those two things, that primarily, of course, the influence of my mom and my dad, and at the same time growing up as a kid who was affected by asthma to the point to where I had like two or three inhalers at one point, to where I had to sleep at night with breathing treatments. I would always have trouble breathing, wheezing all the time. And then over time, just outgrowing the asthma through the grace of God. Again, all credit to my mom and my dad, which is why it's always important to honor thy mother and thy father, regardless of through the good and the bad, always. And then from there, growing up, going to high school, graduated from Moody High School here, located in Corpus Christi, Texas. Was trying to figure out what I wanted to do within the direction that I was going within the course of my life. This was 2011 to about 2014, going back and forth between both the majors my mom and dad was getting involved in, from my mom going into nursing. So I tried that. That didn't work. My dad doing kinesiology. Tried that. That didn't work. Winded up dropping out of a community college located here in Corpus Christi, Texas, called Del Mar College around 2014 ish. Then I went from working job to job, picking up different skills and different traits, as far as working in call centers, working in moving companies, and also working in delivery services, all of those things. And then Had a conversation with my mom. She suggested that I go to a vocational trade school here in Corpus Christi, Texas, called Southern Career Institute, where they had a 9-month training program for pharmacy technician. And then that also sparked my drive on, of course, conventional medicine, the effects that it had on the body. So that was kind of like a little bit of the introduction, I guess you could say, into the mind body connection, going through that phase, getting certified to be a pharmacy technician on the national and state level. From there, I was enjoying myself doing the pharmacy technician thing, and then COVID happened. Of course, the world shut down, leaving us to sit down, be within our thoughts and everything. And something just dawned on me, seeing all the patients come from doctors' offices and hospitals. They're already, not in the best of moods. And plus, they have to, of course, get their medicine so they can feel better, to where they can heal themselves with the conventional medicine, big pharma, and all those things, as far as just to regain their overall health and well being. So something dawned on me, Victor, where I was like, whatever happened to the natural holistic healing, whatever happened to just taking matters in our own hands and relying on natural remedies we've learned from our ancestors. You'd be surprised on how many things you can heal from, like a cold or a sore throat or any kind of those symptoms, for example, with just honey and garlic, for example. And so just diving into those things, tapping into, of course, the physical, the mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being within my own journey, realizing that I wanted to kind of like take the leap of faith and take matters into my own hands and see what I can do to make a contribution and kind of bring back the balance of conventional medicine and natural holistic healing, which led me to starting my own company called Health, Fitness, Wealth Business, which was around 2021 when all that came together. It started with a website. Then it started with, of course, as you mentioned, Victor, to the audience, as you were introducing me, the podcast, being the HFWB podcast series, named after my company, Health, Fitness, Wealth Business, where the concept is mainly about bringing together like-minded individuals, as far as from the entrepreneur business world, maybe even the political landscape on the local, state, federal, international level, all around the world, and just seeing what they could learn from people's experiences, as far as within their skills, gifts, and talents, to be the best versions of themselves, what they can be, which is pretty much the overall core of what Health, Fitness, Wealth Business is all about. Because I'm a firm believer of health is wealth. You can't have one without the other. They're kind of two sides of the coin. We're so focused on chasing the next form of success, we forget to take care of our number one investment, being ourselves, and investing in our overall well-being, and basically cutting back on neglecting our overall health from a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual standpoint, and dedicating time to the day, preferably to start it, to, of course, set yourself on the right track, to where it kind of enhances your mental health to a whole nother level. And that's kind of what Health, Fitness, Wealth Business is all about. And from there came, like I mentioned, the website, the podcast, the books, telling the story more in details within the books you mentioned, hence leading me to the holistic fitness training program that I currently have, healing people through natural remedies and natural products like sea moss, like the sea moss gel, sea moss gummies. All of those things, along with the self-care practices that I do, they kind of help tie into what I overall have went through since COVID, leading up to where I am currently here in 2024, going into 2025, and just what I hope people can see, as far as just taking care of the number one investment, being yourself, and just being the best version of yourself that you can be, by just growing through what you go through, find room for improvement by learning from your mistakes, and just continuing to evolve physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually.
Okay, so when it comes to men, since we are still in November, is there any specific advice or orientation that you tailor when it's about us?
Sorry, repeat the question one more time, Vic.
So, when it comes to men, is there anything in specific that you would like to highlight?
When it comes to us men, most importantly, one thing I look at it is that we're always trying to establish a sense of safety and a sense of security on a regular basis, which kind of tunes into overall, like our root chakra that we have, our energy discs that we have within our overall system. We're always trying to make sure that, we're established within our job. We're always trying to make sure we got the paycheck coming in. We're always trying to take care of not only just our own well-being, but say if you're in a relationship and there's children involved, you got to take care of the significant other one, the child. Most importantly, you got to be like that protector and that warrior. And sometimes we don't realize whether we're truly safe or truly not safe. So what I would tell the individual right now is just realize that you're not responsible for everything that happens in your life. However, you're responsible for how you deal with it by determining how you can establish that sense of safety and that sense of security to where you find like that perfect balance to where everything else will just take care of itself.
Yeah, and I think there is a taboo among men. Like we struggle to tell when things are wrong. There is something telling us that it's not okay to share
Yeah.
that things are not going in the right direction. For women, it's not an issue. They
No.
don't hesitate to share bad news or uh, tell that things are not the way they expect. But men, they will think twice before reaching out to other mates. So, what will be your wording of encouragement for someone who is going to a lot? They want to send a note to their friends, but they feel constrained about it.
I would tell that person, Victor, is just it's a matter of just, developing the commitment to where you could come face to face with yourself and learning how to undo everything around you and just get in tune with just the present moment and just become like a witness and a spectator of the present moment. And what I mean by that
Mm.
is that you have to learn how to kind of remove yourself from your thoughts, from your emotions, from your overall ego, and just get into this calm, cool, collective state of meditation. And most people don't realize, Victor, when it comes, I mean, whenever it comes to like mental health and mindfulness practice, we always think of the number one thing we should do is, of course, meditate and find some form of comfortable stance or comfortable frequency when it comes to meditation. And don't get me wrong, I practice meditation on a daily basis, twice a day, every chance that I get. But most people don't realize that meditation is a state more than it is an action.
Mm.
So it's just a matter of just where you can really find that encouragement and that empowerment within yourself to where you can spread that encouragement and empowerment and inspiration and uplifting other people. You have to just remove yourself from everything and just live in the present moment and just find that calm, cool, collected, meditative state of mind. And that creates the state of action to where you can create the environment of what you see within your overall vision.
Yeah. One exercise I do that I would like to share with you, with the audience, is when something overwhelming is taking place and I'm part of the picture, I
Right.
try to picture that it's happening with my best friend. And I would never think twice before telling my mate what needs to be done about that specific situation. It's
Uh-huh.
much easier to tell if it's about him than it's about me. Not that it's easy, because of course I care about my friend, but at least there is some distance,
Yep.
and I can get some clarity and visibility. Whereas if I'm part of the whole scene, it's very difficult to understand what's going on because I'm too much involved.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I couldn't agree anymore. It's just it's a very, very interesting process as far as how you can get involved and just continue to find different ways on how you can overcome those obstacles and whatever those trials and tribulations may be from a mental roadblock that you may be facing that can prevent you from expanding to that next level that you're trying to achieve as far as like what you envision that your overall, again, your vision is, your mission is, and your overall sense of purpose is, because it's just a matter of just lacking peace within themselves versus always going to battle within themselves. It's like most people don't know how to be in peace with themselves to where they can face the battles that the world may bring,
Mm.
because it's going to bring a lot of storms within the life that we live in on a regular basis. But most people find it to be at peace with those things, but at the same time battling with things internally within themselves that causes these mental health issues, that causes like the cortisol levels, for example, to rise and stay peaked throughout the day instead of just maintaining that regular morning standard to where it's at its highest peak, and then letting like the melatonin sink in naturally as you of course go through the course of the day and you kind of turn yourself off from those levels. It's like they're always stuck in that fight or flight response state versus the rest and digest state. And
Mm.
that's kind of like the biggest issue that causes a whole lot of issues, especially mental health issues at times.
Is it fair to say that people are afraid of being exposed, and that's why they run around here and there, just not to have that moment where things are stuck and they have the time to go through things? And sometimes it's tough, to face what's going on. So it's better just to be entertained, even if it is with something that they know it doesn't work, but at least they are distracted. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, it's it seems less painful to be distracted than to be focused in something that is an obstacle, but it's somehow a pain.
Yeah, I feel like with that, Victor, it's like I feel like we live literally in a computer with everything as far
Mm.
as you mentioned, the distractions with like social media. And honestly, that's kind of been like something that's been implemented and put into place kind of since like the internet kind of took a storm, kind of like in the 90s. I mean, look at how things were then when email was being introduced. That was social media before social media. And then it got into Messenger, and then it evolved into like MySpace, and then of course the social media platforms we know now, from YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, now known as X, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, streaming services like Twitch, for example. It's like social media is kind of like the main cause of the rabbit hole of distraction, and we're all victims to it in some form of fashion, in a way, because just when we're on social media, like for instance, as entrepreneurs and business owners, we're promoting our products and services on social media, we sometimes get a little bit distracted and wind up watching a few reels and stories ourselves, and next thing you know, we go down a rabbit hole and we're trying to figure out where we left off to begin with. And that's kind of a lot of, and the crazy thing is, as you mentioned, Victor, people would rather be entertained by the rabbit hole of things instead of figuring out how ways on how they could become productive within whatever, again, their skill, gift, or talent is, and just sacrificing the time of entertainment and dedicating it towards times to remaining committed and consistent to their overall goals, and of course just focusing on making not only something out of themselves but something out of nothing, which makes it even that much more special.
So, what would be your suggestion for a person to find them time for themselves, to find that slot?
The what I would suggest to people is I would dedicate whenever they first wake up in the morning, whatever the case may be, whether it's like they need to dedicate at least the first, depending on the flow of the day, at least 30 minutes to an hour towards like finding times to, of course, just check in with themselves, put together some form of self-care practice. And if there's one book that I would recommend to people who I would definitely would help them out with that, I would recommend people read The Miracle Morning by Al Harad. And the reason I say that, Victor, is that it's basically he talks about a saver's method, kind of like your morning routine to help get you ready to take on the challenges and obstacles from the day, having a moment of silence, affirmations, visualizations, of course, exercising to start off your day while your cortisol levels are high and while you're fully energized as you wake up, and finding time to just, read to kind of wake up the brain, do a little mental gymnastics, and just invest in a journal. That way you can write down your thoughts, your emotions, how you're feeling, what you plan on accomplishing as far as daily, weekly, yearly goals, just to kind of keep you motivated and inspired. And find like time to do not, if not one of all of those things that I just mentioned, if not find time to do all of them, depending on how much time you have before you have to take care of certain things without the course of the day. Develop some sort of morning routine to basically check in with yourself and take care of yourself, which is your number one investment, being in tune with your star player, which is you. That way you can take on whatever to-do list items you have to take care of, whatever goals you're trying to chase after, or just, of course, making sure you're safe and secure and establishing your belongings in this world while you're here one day at a time.
And why is that crucial to do those things first thing in the morning and not later in the day?
It's best to do those things to kick off your day because it allows you to establish this sense of peace and this sense of calmness and coolness and just collective vibes of just love and compassion and empathy and understanding for yourself. That way you can seek to understand others around you and be able to just simply relate to them as well. So I feel like it's more important to just have that time to just like check in with yourself and align yourself as far as with positive energy and positive vibrations. That way you can be able to kind of counter the negative stuff that's going on in the world and kind of combating the hate and all those things, and or the seven deadly sins, which is love and compassion and just empathy and understanding within yourself, first things first, before you be able to share that with others within the world. And there's a sense of urgency more than ever to do that more so and do it at a consistent matter. That way we can make the world a better place. And it starts with, of course, if you it's like we've heard this before, Victor, by the very famous Michael Jackson song Man in the Mirror. If you want to make the world a better place, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and make that change. There's a reason why that was said.
Yeah, and there's a reason why it was popular. I think sometimes people embrace songs without knowing what they are taking in. I think the music has that power. People are
Yeah, it,
just fascinated by the rhythm, and they don't know, but they are incorporating the message. It's fantastic, isn't it?
it is because most people, it's crazy the times that we live in with people's attention spans being like literally maybe 10 to 30 seconds long at the most. Because in this day and age, when it comes to music, I feel like people just skim through it versus actually listening to the words and realizing not only the messages that are being said, but at the same time paying attention to the frequencies within that music, because frequencies can cause a little bit of spells to where it puts you in a little bit of hypnosis. And depending on that frequency, which is very common in music, being like a low 808 heart frequency, that kind of like draws the energy levels within your overall system down to the point where you're thinking like in this destructive state of mind, which is why it's important that we align our overall chakra system. That way we can overcome that low frequency and we could be at a higher frequency, a God level like frequency. Because lately, Victor, I've been telling people God is three things: love, spirit, and most importantly, frequency. It's it makes a difference, that's for sure.
That's an interesting definition. What do you mean exactly by frequency? Because I haven't heard that myself.
What I mean by that, it kind of relates to overall like the chakra system that I talk about, as far as the energy discs that we all have within our body that are connected to like certain levels of our body and everything. And it's overall just a matter of just tuning into those certain frequencies. That way you can be able to just align not only like those body systems that are associated with that, those energy discs, but at the same time, just being able to tap into them to where you can just activate like certain frequencies that'll keep you aligned. For example, like think about like for instance what I was talking about, the root chakra, for example, that's associated with majority of your lower body, and when you tap into that, it allows you to be more safe and secure and establish a sense of belonging within the world more so than anything. Or if, for example, you have like your second chakra being your sacral chakra, and that's associated with your feelings and your emotions, and of course your sexual drive, for example. So certain things like that kind of tie into, of course, resolving it by just aligning it by listening to certain frequencies and working your way up through the seven chakras from the solar plexus. You have the heart chakra, your throat chakra, your third eye chakra, which is basically your pineal gland within your brain that allows you to be one step closer to tapping into the God level of like frequency. And then you have your crown chakra, which is the seventh and final one, and that allows you to tap into basically the frequency of God. And that's kind of like when you have all of them in alignment, it's kind of like an elevator working within your body to where it's kind of like charging yourself throughout your whole body. And it allows you to tap into this peace like positive vibrations through just the power of just the chakra frequencies. It's kind of like tuning into your own little personal rainbow. And you could actually meditate to these frequencies, and at the same time you could tap into them through affirmations and of course certain yoga poses. And it even ties into food as well from a nutrition standpoint. Like a good example of this, I had a holistic fitness training client who was having thyroid issues around their throat. A good example on how to unlock your throat chakra is to eat like a handful of blueberries, for example, and that kind of feeds into tapping into that frequency a little bit. And another good example for your heart chakra, this is my personal favorite because it goes back to what I was mentioning, the love, the compassion, the empathy, and understanding of yourself. A good way to unlock your heart chakra from a nutrition standpoint is by eating a lot of greens, because the heart chakra is green. For example, eating, like your spinaches, your kales of the world, your cucumbers, green apples, for example. It's eating your green foods and making green smoothies. That way you can unlock loving yourself and understanding yourself better to where you could understand others and spread that exact same thing. The chakra system, it could be unlocked in so many different ways. And I feel like when you understand the chakra system and learn how to tap into each seven chakras on a regular basis, it allows you to tap into all frequencies that kind of keep you elevated from that low 808 heartbreak frequency that's being programmed within music to, of course, brainwash us and put us under this hypnosis spell to where it causes us to do very violent and destructive things that we know more than better that we should be doing in the first place.
As we come to an end, would you mind just share a bit about your books? I think you're an author of a trilogy. So would you like to share with the audience what are the books about? I'm going to put the link in the description so people will be able to read about them, but maybe it's better to know directly from
Yes, of
you.
course. And thank you for that opportunity as well, Victor. Of course, as you mentioned in your intro, I am a self-published author. I've written 3 self-help books and 1 poetry book, as you alluded to. My first book, which I have here on the screen for the stream on YouTube and for those who are watching on YouTube, it's my first book called What's Wealth Without Work. You can buy this on Amazon currently as we speak for $10 a copy. And I got that concept, What's Wealth Without Work, It comes from the 7 blunders of the world described by Muhammad Gandhi. I was going through that, researching Muhammad Gandhi, wonderful individual, very peaceful, nonviolent, the whole 9 yards. And he said, "What's wealth without work?" And it stuck with me because it described my overall life in that particular moment as I was discovering myself as an entrepreneur. As far as you have to put in the work to create your own form of wealth, whether it's in the form of money, it could be in the form of time and information, because without money, time and information is all you have. So what's wealth without work is kind of introducing a concept of what are you going to do with your time and the information, knowledge, and resources that you have within the world, and of course create some form of generational wealth. That way you can pass it on to the next generation. And then that kind of leads into the second self-help book that I have that's also available on Amazon, called A Dollar and a Vision. That kind of is describing the follow-up to What's Wealth Without Work, basically implying whatever your vision is, whatever your sense of purpose, your mission is, you have to cash in on the opportunity while it's in front of you. That book is also available on Amazon. And then, of course, to touch on the poetry book before I talk about the trilogy, my latest book, I do have my End Times, What is Your Revelation poetry book, where I talk about the 7 deadly sins, as far as like, hate, lust, pride, envy, gluttony, sloth, wrath, and showing how you can overcome each of those 7 deadly sins that we've all suffered from at some point in the form of poetry, and kind of leaving like a nugget and a gem at the end of it. That way you can overcome that. And I kind of touch a little bit, of course, on the end times that we're facing, revelations, of course, from like the Holy Bible, stuff like that, and kind of painting the picture on the state of time that we're currently in as far as within this world and what may come if we don't pay attention, and kind of warning people potentially on what is going to happen, what might happen, or what may happen if we're not prepared or unprepared, as far as just to be able to overcome ourselves, basically, with that poetry book. And then last but not least, my most recent book, which completes the trilogy to What's Wealth Without Work and Dollar and a Vision, is my newest book that I just released on Amazon on October the 30th. It's called Consistency with a Sense of Urgency. And that kind of ties together the trilogy of my self-help entrepreneurship journey on how I took my leap of faith from from a pharmacy technician to a holistic fitness trainer and entrepreneur, and just telling people that we need to figure out what's important and what's not important, when what's urgent and what's not urgent, and finding a balance between those things, evening out the odds, and just basically utilizing our time wisely, because it kind of goes back to the beginning on what I talk about in What's Wealth Without Work. Wealth is more than just money. It's time and information. What are you doing with those two things to create the money and create the prosperity and abundance that your life can be transformed into once you tap into those certain levels and frequencies of those things? So that's kind of the 4 books that I have self-published. They are all available on Amazon.com, and they're also available on my website, which is currently under maintenance, but will be back up shortly, called healthfitnesswealthbusiness.com/CP, all lowercase and everything. So yeah, that's my self-published author journey at the moment. And at the same time, I'm always brainstorming the next book to write. I kind of have the follow-up to my first poetry book that I just showed, End Times, What is Your Revelation? I'm going to have the follow-up to that in 2025. And I'm also probably going to write another self-help book. And I'm going to write at least 2-3 more books potentially in 2025. So the writing doesn't stop and the storytelling doesn't stop. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity just to hopefully empower, uplift, and inspire one person at a time, one day at a time, with the overall message that I present in each book that I write or self-publish, that I have shown and discussed currently and going forward into the future.
Yeah, and I'll be glad in 2025 to have us another chat with you on those books. I'm very keen to explore the poetry. Maybe we can do something focused on the poetry, because I've been thinking about a poetry series. That's something I have in mind for next year, and I will keep you in mind, because this conversation was very insightful. I'm sure it was of benefit for everyone who listened. This will be available. It was live, but will be available for people. So I just want to tell you a big thank you, and I want to keep in touch with you for sure.
No, thank you for the opportunity, Victor. And for anyone who wants to stay in touch with me, you, of course, find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. My Facebook, you can search me by my name, Clifton Pope, as you can see on the screen here for those watching on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is at Health, Fitness, Wealth, Business, and business has one S on that. So it's Health, Fitness, Wealth, Business with one S, 8726. Subscribe to my YouTube channel where you can find all my video version of episodes of the HFWB podcast series, my overall podcast, which you can find, of course, on YouTube with my YouTube channel I just provided. You can find the HFWB podcast series on Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast. You can find me on Instagram at cpope, CPOPE_44 on Instagram. You can find me on TikTok at Health F Wealth B, all lowercase. That's the word health, the letter F, the word wealth, the letter B as in boy, .cp for my initials. Find me on TikTok there. Of course, you can buy all my books from What's Wealth Without Work, Dollar and a Vision, my poetry book, In Time, What Is Your Revelation, and my newest book, Consistency with a Sense of Urgency on Amazon. And as I mentioned earlier, the website's under maintenance. I apologize for those who haven't been able to get access to it, working on getting that back up. But the website is healthfitnesswealthbusiness.com/CP until further notice. And before I forget, you could also find me on Facebook at Health, Fitness, Wealth, Business to complete the Facebook portion. But that's where
you are basically everywhere, just to make it
yes, I'm all over social media. I'm grateful for the opportunity just to empower, uplift, and inspire, and hopefully encourage one person at a time to keep up with the journey on all platforms I mentioned.
That's an excellent purpose. No? When it comes to these Movember talks, I just want to tell the audience the next one will take place on Sunday. Everything going according to the plan. It will be 6 p.m. UK Irish time. So if it's not your time, please just do the adjustment. There'll be other episodes next week, similar to this format or back to the classic one. And I hope I see you over there. If you enjoy this conversation, give us a thumbs up. If you know someone who will benefit from listening to this discussion, please share. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. I know I said this multiple times, but that's the life of a content creator. So thank you very much, everyone, and I see you very soon. Take care.
Stay healthy, wealthy, blessed, everybody. Peace.